Microsoft has created its own Bitcoin mint, Europe is creating its own cloud, Russia is ready to disconnect itself from the internet, and look out Tinder, AWS releases a new dating exchange service. Join me as I go over all the major announcements in the last month in the cloud space. Hi, I'm Matt Carolan, and welcome to our December edition of Puck Online, bringing you a quick summary of all the major news and events for the public cloud space. Every month we'll come to you in online, video, podcast and blog form, as well as in-person events every quarter in Vancouver, Canada. Today I'm broadcasting from Falls Creek in downtown Vancouver. As usual, lots of cloud news to cover this month, so let's get into it. In general news, France and Germany have announced that they will develop a homegrown cloud rival to Amazon, Microsoft and Google. This comes out of concerns of where corporate data is being stored and a lack of global trust by countries of the US. A spokesperson from AWS came out and said in response that the theory was interesting, but he doesn't believe it is viable. I tend to agree and feel that maybe Microsoft's approach with Azure might be the way to go, where they are starting to have data centers which are sovereign owned, meaning that the land and data centers is owned by the country and not them, and therefore can't be accessed by the US courts or organizations. And with WeWork's IPO fail troubles, it's starting to spread to other pieces that they own, such as Meetup.com, which is owned by WeWork and has lost trust in the community after trying to make a massive increase in their charges to users and hosts. The platform isn't great anyway, but has a great community behind it. Unfortunately, its fall from grace might be sudden, so many communities are preparing for sudden doom. Also sudden is big companies who are leaving WeWork in the office space. IBM is looking to abandon WeWork offices and consolidate in New York. The way WeWork lease contracts work, companies can leave them with little notice. Oh, and they just announced 2,400 layoffs. And Russia passed a law into legislation to allow them to disconnect the country from the internet in the event of a threat of national security. To me, this makes sense for any country these days due to many important governments and critical infrastructures being tied to the internet. The obvious question is, though, will this be used like in other countries to silence communication and to form censorship? But the other question I would have is how much harm it might cause to businesses, as we start to see these days that there is not much that software can do without an online presence. Because of this, we'll probably see multiple internets popping up in the future and then appearing between the different internets, I feel. Canadian business information management software firm OpenText Corp plans to buy the cloud security company Carbonite for nearly $800 million in cash. OpenText will pay $23 per share to Carbonite's shareholders. The deal will complement OpenText's security offerings in data loss prevention and digital forensics. And I discovered a great read the other day due to one of my colleagues, Kevin Ellsworth, which goes over the last 10 years of major security breaches. Check it out in the link below. And the IRS in the US has a proposal to change how companies categorize cloud computing transactions for tax purposes. But many are saying it's ambiguous and burdensome, and the effect of the proposal requires companies to gauge whether they should classify income derived from cloud transactions as either a provision of services or as a property lease, thus potentially significantly affecting their tax bill. And subscribers signing on to the eagerly anticipated debut of Walt Disney's streaming service Disney Plus were greeted with error messages, if in fact they were even able to connect at all. It was unclear how many people successfully signed up and how many had difficulty accessing the $7 a month Disney Plus, which features roughly 500 movies and 7,500 TV episodes. The problem was apparently triggered by high demand, which caused cloud servers to crash. And the container platform Docker announced it had named a new CEO and raised $35 million in fresh capital as part of a restructuring effort. The reformulation will effectively split the company in two, one focused on its active developer business and the other aimed at the growing enterprise business, which the company said it sold to the cloud computing firm Miratis. And the global public cloud services market is expected to expand by 17% in 2020 to $266.4 billion, according to a new forecast by the tech research firm Gartner. SaaS, software as a service, will remain the largest market segment, which is forecast to grow $116 billion next year, as more enterprises scale up their subscription-based software. The second largest market segment is Cloud System Infrastructure Services, or IaaS, which Gartner researchers anticipate will reach $50 billion billion in 2020. That represents an increase of 24% year over year, the largest expansion of any cloud sector. And Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates officially overtook Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos as the world's richest person last month, reclaiming the top position for the first time in over 2 years. And one last piece of interesting trivia for the general news. Since 2012, the cloud computing power required for today's machine learning systems has been doubling every 3.4 months. Moore's Law, eat your heart out. In AWS news, with AWS's massive reInvent conference on this month, I had to start here after general news. However, because we're recording this just before we fly out to the event, hence the red Canada reInvent jersey on from last year, this video around AWS will be light. So look out for the special video which will focus just on the major reInvent announcements that we'll be recording live at the event this week. Also, if you're in Vancouver, Canada, we'll be hosting an event on December 10th to recap all the major announcements that were made. So with that, briefly in AWS news, Amazon has filed a court challenge against the Pentagon awarding the JEDI contract to Microsoft. Amazon has also introduced a new flexible pricing model for cloud customers called savings plans, which can reduce retail costs by as much as 72%. The plan offers cloud customers discounted rates in exchange for long-term commitments to a fixed usage amount. With savings plans, Amazon will charge a customer at the discount rate for the usage committed to, and at regular on-demand rates for anything above that. Amazon also introduced AWS Data Exchange, not AWS Dating Exchange, as joked by Corey Quinn on Twitter. This is designed to help customers more easily access and integrate third-party data into their workloads they've been migrating to the cloud. Additionally, the exchange provides qualified data providers with a modern vehicle for reaching millions of AWS customers worldwide. In Microsoft Azure news, last month saw Microsoft Ignite event with a long list of announcements made. If you missed it, you can check out the links below to watch and listen to our video and podcast covering those announcements. Microsoft's shares hit a record high as the uptick from the JEDI US Pentagon contract was awarded to them. The $10 billion contract is not a done deal yet, as now Amazon will be challenging it in the courts, so this may drag on for months, maybe even years. If you'd invested $1,000 in Microsoft 10 years ago, it'd now be worth $6,500, which is a 550% return on your investment. And Microsoft announced a major modification to its hybrid cloud that allows users to deploy its cloud portal on practically any platform, including that of its main rival AWS. As long as there is a Kubernetes cluster, users will be able to deploy Microsoft Azure applications. On these platforms, Azure looks and feels just like on Microsoft's own, providing administrators with a simplified method for handling audits, compliance, and role-based access controls across environments. It also allows developers to build their containerized apps and deploy them across infrastructures. Microsoft Azure's cloud computing service will soon offer select customers access to 3 prototype quantum computers from engineering conglomerate Honeywell, as well as 2 startups. Microsoft does not claim these quantum computers are ready to do useful work. Existing quantum hardware is not yet advanced enough. And Cisco and Microsoft the other week announced their collaboration to make it easier for SD-WAN customers to establish and run direct internet access to Microsoft's cloud applications. Specifically, Cisco will integrate its SD-WAN package with Microsoft's Azure Virtual WAN and Office 365, allowing customers to extend their WAN to Microsoft Azure Cloud. And Microsoft has begun shipping HoloLens 2 to customers. Introduced in February, HoloLens 2 enables users to precisely display holograms in front of customers for interaction and manipulation with their hands and eyes. Microsoft's cloud platform Azure stores the data which HoloLens 2 relies on to operate. Microsoft, which was among the first to accept Bitcoin for payment, has created a mint for issuing a wide range of crypto assets that are often exchanged using cloud technology. Several companies, including a video game outfit and a virtual reality platform, have already used the mint to create a number of experimental assets, while others, like General Electric, are planning to create their own. As of now, anyone can apply to preview the technology. Called Azure Blockchain Tokens, the crypto asset mint allows users to design, issue, and manage a wide range of assets, which, like Bitcoin, can be provided to existing only in one place at a time, making them much more difficult to forge and much easier to audit. And Microsoft announced that its group chat service Teams has now reached 20 million daily active users, surpassing rival Slack by a wide margin. The announcement is startling because Teams launched only 2 years ago, while Slack has been operating for 6 years now. And Microsoft has officially opened its cloud regions in Norway, with the launch of data centers located in the capital city of Oslo and another commercial hub in Stavanger. The company says it will further expand the cloud capabilities in the region in 2020 to offer full access to its Office 365 cloud suite, Dynamics 365 CRM, and other applications. And in Google GCP news, US federal regulators are investigating a cloud computing deal between Google and Ascension Health, which would give Google access to millions of patient records. The Office for Civil Rights in the Department of Health and Human Services will examine the data collection to ensure it adheres to the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, otherwise known as HIPAA, which safeguards medical information, the journal said. Google the other week said patient data cannot and will not be combined with any Google customer data. And Google has purchased CloudSimple, whose software enables companies to run computing workloads that are based on VMware's widely used server virtualization technology. The terms of the deal were not disclosed, but the acquisition is part of Google's aggressive growth strategy as it tries to close in on the primary rivals in the cloud market. And Google kicked off its Next conference in London the other week by unveiling a wide range of new products from data encryption, network security, and its new hybrid cloud platform, Migrate for Anthos. Anthos was the first open app modernization platform to consolidate the control plane and service delivery across the cloud, on-premise, and in the edge. And tech executives are unable to explain how a database aggregating 1.2 billion users' personal information, including social media accounts, email addresses, and phone numbers, was discovered unprotected on a Google Cloud server last month. Most of the data was collected by a company called People Data Labs. According to the company website, People Data Labs claims to provide work emails and social media account details for 1.5 billion people, which is scraped from a myriad of sources and sold to marketers in North America and the UK. The unprotected data, however, was uncovered on a Google Cloud server. In IBM Cloud news, and lastly, a story involving Google and IBM. IBM is challenging Google's media announcement, which we covered last month, around them having a quantum computer that solved a problem in 200 seconds, which would have taken a supercomputer 10,000 years. IBM says that Google's experiment is flawed. And in the wrap-up, for all items that we are hosting like meetups, vodcasts, podcasts, and blogs, check out the website www.publiccloud.ninja. For upcoming cloud-related events in Vancouver, the next event will be on the 10th of December in downtown Vancouver. So check out the website meetup.com/publiccloud and become a member so you'll be notified of any future events. This episode was made possible by Scalar Decisions, a CDW company, and a leading Canadian IT provider focused on security, infrastructure, and cloud, as well as NetApp, who are a leading provider in storage solutions, which will speed up your data both on-premise, in the cloud, and everywhere in between. If you think we've missed anything, let us know in the comments section. Our next episode should be a special edition of AWS reInvent in only a few days' time. And then the next month's episode will be in January 2020. So till then, keep challenging yourself.